Hey guys, hey boo, welcome back. Tisha here on this Good Friday for what is the last review of Sister Wives this week. Baby, they have finally given me something to work with because Cody pissed me off so badly during this episode that I couldn't help but think that Mary is better than me, because had the roles been reversed, had I had been in that office with Mr. Cody Brown, the bald eagle himself, they would have had to escort me out because of how loud and belligerent that I probably would have gotten in that office. You lie to me and tell me that we can start fresh, that we can work things out. And all I have to do is hang on and come to Flagstaff with you because you want me there so badly, because you want me to be a part of this family, when what you really clearly wanted was my income. That discussion, that conversation that we saw at the end of this episode in this so-called therapist's office alone would have caused me to separate from Cody, to get my funds, to no longer put into the family pot. I would not be giving Cody a penny to his new property, not one. The statement that he made to us, that Mary mourns the loss of what we had and I regret what we had, the moment I saw that replayed on television, you would have to come and get me. Does regretting what you had mean that you regret your child too? Because I'm listening to this and maybe I'm reaching here, but I see why a lot of these kids probably stopped watching the show, because how far exactly does regret go? There are things that I wish never happened when it came to my ex, but I will never say that I regret what I had, because if I didn't have my ex, if I didn't go through the things that I went through, number one, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And number two, most importantly of all of that, I would not have my son. If my son ever were to decide to come up here with me while I'm on video, the moment that he gets up here, you would see me, because everybody sees me when they see him. But guess what else they see? They see his father. They see the both of us. And I love my child because my child is the both of us. But Cody says and does things that make me feel otherwise. To go that far, it just shows that he's a very inconsiderate person and no one else's opinion matters but his own. It is clear to me that he really wants Mary to go away. He wants her to leave, but because he is a coward, that he won't come out and say it. Their marriage is done, and Dr. Nancy should have said that. But let me stop ranting, because I'm going to rant some more later on. Trust me, I am. I'm going to rant because I was hot during this one. There's a lot of bold on my stuff, and bold is the area where I can rant. And like the video for me as we begin, okay? So we begin the episode in North Carolina. Maddie still, after all this time, hasn't given birth, but she's having contractions every 5 minutes, and she feels like at this point on this day that the baby has turned and dropped. The midwife sees that it's taking long, and she tells them, you know what, go ahead and check in. Let me check you out. If everything goes well, you can go ahead, drive back to your home, which is 2 hours away, so that you can be more comfortable, which is what Maddie wants, because Maddie says she just wants to sleep in her own bed. Cody says this time of a pregnancy is very discouraging because it's like a yo-yo. 1 minute you think you have progress and then you don't. I was sitting there watching her and what she went through, and I'm so happy that I did not go through that. when I had my son. Now, they made me have him. I was uncomfortable because they wouldn't let me move because they were constantly monitoring him. They gave me a whole bunch of stuff to lower my blood pressure. They were giving me stuff to make sure his lungs were developed. Like, it was a lot going on, but I didn't go through what Maddie went through with these days and weeks and hours upon hours of labor. I don't know what they're considering to be labor in this part, but we know that in her previous one, she had 80 something hours of labor. So the midwife examines her and says that the baby still needs to come down more, that there isn't a significant amount of change, so they can go home. Maddie comes out, lets the parents know that, there's not enough change. Y'all could go ahead and fly back home. I would think that she would want them to still be there, but I guess they're getting on her nerves too if she wants them to fly back home. Cody's like, no, I want to stay another day so that I can play with Axel and maybe the baby will come before I go. It's the next day. They're at Maddie's home and everyone is talking. We see Cody playing with Axel, Maddie still having contractions, but now Isabel is there too. They sit down for dinner. Christine talks about how it's hotter there than it is in Flagstaff. And Janelle's like, we could talk about Flagstaff as much as we want, but I don't think that they plan on coming back to Flagstaff, that they're probably going to stay east. Caleb's job is very good and they take good care of him. She tells Cody and Christine that she doesn't see them making their way back to where they live. However, she believes that Maddie is going to convince other siblings to move closer to them. We then find out that one person already wants to be closer, and that's Isabel. She's already been looking into leaving Flagstaff and come to live with Maddie and Caleb once she goes off to college, because Christine lets us know that they have gotten extremely close, that even though Maddie and her were raised by different moms, they've remained close over the years. That goes to show you once again that Janelle and Christine created an environment for their kids that they remain in constant contact with each other. This has been established, and as adults, they decided that they're still going to try, even with their younger siblings. So no one is shocked by this news, because apparently a lot of them have talking about it. They all knew that this was the plan, but Cody seems shocked. How involved is Cody Brown with Christine's children that he did not know that Isabel wanted to move hundreds of miles away? You have a situation where Maddie and Caleb, who don't live near her, know this, but Cody, who's minutes away from her, doesn't. It goes to show you that he didn't have certain conversations with her, because Christina's like, I could have sworn that we said something to you. Christine says she honestly thought that Cody was more aware of her plans, and she thinks that the move would be a good thing, that Christine has always been team get them out of the house, get them out of the nest. They develop certain traits as they leave and they get on their own. Caleb tells Isabel that she's more than welcome to come and move to North Carolina and stay with them anytime. And Cody is listening to this, and you can tell he's bothered by it. He doesn't approve of this idea. I personally think he's probably not supportive of it because, number one, he wasn't included on it. 2, he doesn't enjoy being left out. 3, he just feels like he has to have the say so. He says he just has this funny feeling about his kids leaving home, that he doesn't want them to be too far away from him. I can't tell. He says he doesn't want to keep Isabel in prison, but he'd rather her go to school in Flagstaff. When it comes to education, it is not what you want. It is about what is financially feasible, as well as what's best for your children and what they desire. Christine's household was not thrilled about the move to Flagstaff. They didn't want to do it. Robin's household did, because Dayton had already decided that he was going to college out there. So I'm not surprised that some of Christine's kids aren't going to want to stay there once they're finished with school. And Isabel especially. Every single one of the children at this point, with the exception of Dayton, finished school and they left. Even the ones that were still in Vegas did not stay at home initially when they went to school. They went and lived on campus. Logan lived on campus. Maddie lived on campus. Not Maddie. Yeah, Maddie lived on her campus, but I'm talking about close by. Aspen lived on campus, even though McKelty, she was living with Aspen. So none of those kids stayed at home, but we're acting like this is such a big deal when it's happened before. He says she shouldn't be near family, and she would be near family because she's going to have two individuals, her sister and her brother-in-law, that really care about her. So the family sits down for dinner. Before heading back to, did I just delete something? Before heading back to Arizona, Cody says that he needs to find out what's going on with Isabel. His 16-year-old is possibly thinking about moving to North Carolina. Most of all, he wants to know if Maddie will continue blocking his dreams of having all of his children come back and be near him, because he's beginning to fear that the more that the kids go away, the more that they're not remaining in Flagstaff, is the more that they're not going to spend holidays with them, and that his adult children will instead want to be somewhere else. And if his kids do that and the wives fall for it, then they're all suckers. It makes sense to me. At this point, he's showing that what matters most is him. And despite Cody's birthdays being so important and everybody coming back for his birthdays and being around him during his birthdays, at some point, these kids are going to become adults, which they are, and realize that they have to have lives of their own. I love my daddy. That's my boy. Like, I tell my dad that he's my friend. My dad will say that I'm not your friend, but he kind of treats me a little bit like I'm his friend sometimes when we give each other advice and things of that nature. With that being said, I'm not rushing off every time his birthday hits because I got to go celebrate the birthday with my dad. That's just not how life operates. People have things that they have to do. Now, I'm not saying I don't call him and stuff like that, but I'm not dropping everything to go to his birthday, and he's not doing the same. He has multiple kids. He can't always do that. According to Cody, this would be the ultimate betrayal if the wives do this, if they start spending holidays with other people, and it's going to basically tear their family apart. He didn't know it, but he's letting us know this is exactly how he feels, which is one of the reasons why once the pandemic happened and those wives didn't spend the holiday with them, they were now on Cody's list. Did he think that the kids as adults' job was to spend their time with him? They've created families of their own, which means at times they will be with Cody's family, and at times they will be with their significant other's family, and at times they may just be by themselves. He really feels like everything is supposed to revolve around him. Janelle says she is tempted to hang with her kids for the holidays. And he says, see, you're proving my point. This is going to be a real issue if we don't get out on the property soon. I don't think the property had anything to do with it. I think that the moment that you all decided to leave the cul-de-sac, to uproot your kids the way that you did, you significantly split things, because it's evident that the older kids aren't going to be out there, and it's evident that some of the younger ones will stay, but some of them are going to go. So Cody says, I'm going to go ahead and fly back to Flagstaff. I got to go, but I will come back the moment Maddie is in active labor. As I said before, it's clear that they have money, or maybe TLC is paying for all these flights, because the way these people are in the skies, y'all got some type of money. Christine says, check on the girls for me. Why does he have to be told to check on his kids? Oh, let me guess, because he's not really there. I'm telling y'all, it's not something he does. Cody returns to Flagstaff. Robin and Cody still have not closed on their house. The close hasn't happened because they got an email saying that they have to provide additional documentation regarding their financials. Basically, show how much money that the other wives are paying to. They are blaming this on them being polygamous, but I also feel that this is because they had bankruptcy related issues. There are not one, but two or three, but four rental trucks on this property, which is insane to me. Robin says she took out some toys for the kids, but it's been 3 weeks and they're tired of playing with the things that they have, which means they've had these trucks at this point for 3 weeks. They are really not thinking about how they spend their funds. They act like they have an endless stream of money, which they don't, which goes back to Janelle in season 17 saying that she sees how they're spending the money and they're not spending it in a good way. Cody says that they're paying daily for these 4 rental trucks and that they're still holding their stuff on Coyote Pass. Not only are they doing that, but they're paying rent for the property that they're in now that they're trying to buy. Robin says mortgages can be tricky when you're dealing with a plural marriage, but if they use their critical thinking skills, they would realize that it's more than just about a mortgage for a plural family. It's about your finances and the way that you all are choosing to spend your money. They decide that they need to go to these trucks to get some more things out for the kids. Robin says being by these trucks to grab these toys is depressing me. It's reminding me of our situation. And they're all entangled when it comes to their finances. So they had to get all the additional information for the wives, and plural families are just not meant for the world of mortgages. There's a leaf blower outside. Sorry. The obviously, do work out in this society because you all have had multiple homes that you've owned, and there have been other people that have as well. There's more to it than that. You all aren't doing good with your finances. Cody tells us that since living there and leaving Vegas, he has had a hard time sleeping. He has about 15 different pillows that he keeps in rotation, and Robin lets us know that she has 5 of the pillows. We don't care about the pillows, Cody. Cody has convinced Robin that it's completely her fault, which makes me feel once again that he made this original move because of Robin. I don't think that he's talking about they're in this situation because Robin took too long to decide to buy a house. I think he's talking about everything. Cody tells Robin that even though they should have put an offer on the house earlier, he's not blaming her. You making that statement to me makes me feel like you're clearly blaming her despite what you're saying. Cody tells Robin they have rental trucks for another 5 days, but he may have to get a storage unit if it takes longer. This news upsets Robin. Meanwhile, I'm upset that at this point, y'all have had these trucks for almost a month. They talk about Maddie and how he's hoping that she doesn't have the baby before he can get back out there. The bird says, you can close no matter where you're at. And she's like, just if you got to go, you got to go. And Cody's like, yeah, we can close, but I also got to move after we can close. She tells Cody that she's still keeping an eye out for the available rentals. He is bothered by this, starts to crack jokes. She gets annoyed by this. I personally would have to walk off at that point too. They are annoying, and she managed to get on my nerves once again, talking about the rental situation and how even though they're waiting to close, she still wants to keep looking for a property. But that is until they met with Nancy. Then Cody took the cake. So we see Cody and Mary head to Vegas to see the therapist, Dr. Nancy. She lets us know that she is guarded about this situation. Nancy isn't good enough, in my opinion, to take a 4-hour drive for counseling. This could have easily been a video call or a phone call so that we don't have to drive 4 hours away. Apparently, we have so much time on our hands that we're willing to spend 8 hours in a car for therapy that, in my opinion, is clearly not working for them because they are not doing the work. Mary says things between her and Cody have been rocky for quite a while, and on occasion they visit Dr. Nancy to address it. So how often are you all really visiting her? Because it's been rocky for a long time and there's clearly been no improvement. Cody says they soft pedaled this for a while and Mary wants to go deeper. So it's time to check the temperature of the relationship and figure out what's going on. They arrive at the office. You see them embrace one another. Dr. Nancy then shows them just how thick her file is. She lets them know it's one of the thickest files that she has. It looks like a textbook. That's how thick it is. Cody and Mary seem surprised to see how much she has wrote about them. Mary says either it's not a lot of hope or it just shows how persistent we've been. I'm going with not a lot of hope. Dr. Nancy starts out by asking, Cody and Mary, what's happened in the year and a half since she last saw them, which means this is not something that they were actively working on. They've been in Flagstaff at this point for over a year. If she's asking you what's been going on, that means she has not had contact with you since you all decided you were leaving. You would think that they would try to get in as many sessions as possible before they left, but apparently not. Mary says she and Cody are trying to be kind to each other. They grab dinner a couple of times and Cody interjects and says nothing's happened. We're not having movement. Mary says they aren't really working the muscle that is their relationship, and Cody agrees with that. He says, well, I don't disagree with that, but I think that's just cliche. We're family, but we're not acting married. Okay, which one is it? Because here you're saying you're family, but later on you say she doesn't act like she's a part of the family. So Cody, which one is it? And I wish that Dr. Nancy would have called him out on that. Mary tells Dr. Nancy that Cody said he doesn't want to work things out with her until she's in good standing with everyone else. So Mary's relationship with the children as well as the other wives is what he considers as good standing. And I want to know what her relationship with other family members have to do with her relationship with him. He always has this way of manipulating things and having certain stipulations that don't involve him doing any work. He says, I agree that I did say that, she got to work on other things, but I mean, like, we can do this simultaneously. How? And Mary is surprised by this. He says he's waiting for things to change with the adult children, which contradicts what he just said. What aren't you all telling us? If you want to keep talking about the adult children, then tell us how Mary allegedly abused those kids. Was it verbal? Was it mental? Was it physical? What happened that you're not telling us because you skirt around it and you don't tell us, and I'm over it. Mary admits that she is close with some of the adult children in the family, but not so close with others, which is no different from the other mothers, because we've seen over the years that both Christine and Janelle are extremely close to each other's children. Christine and Janelle are also close to Leon, but they aren't close to the Bird's kids. The Bird isn't close to everybody's kids either. She has a select few kids that she seems to be close with, like Aspen, which that's changed over the years, Maddie, that's definitely kaput, and McKelty. I don't know what the status is with McKelty, but that's the only one that she kept over time. And that's because McKelty would do her bidding and fold under pressure and be there to let her know what it was that Christine had going on. That's only because they used to help watch her kids. That's the reason why Robin sometimes has an affinity towards them. But we don't see those wives being penalized for that, at least not right now. That doesn't happen until later. Cody says that Mary has great relationships when it comes to business, but not when it comes to the family. He doesn't get why she has great relationships with the other people, but none of them have good relationships with her. The family doesn't. None of them, really? No one has a good relationship with Mary. So what is Mary holding on to? Dr. Nancy is concerned. She says, I'm concerned because it's been 18 months and I'm not seeing a lot of progress. She should have been concerned when she first met them because it was clear very early on that Cody had favorites and she didn't call him out on it. She started to call out some things originally, and Robin immediately wasn't down with going to some of the exercises and things of that nature because she wasn't prepared for it. And as a result, I think that Nancy held back. Cody tells us how I have a relationship with someone that I don't want to have a relationship with because of the hurt. He said it right there. He doesn't want to have a relationship with Mary. All he wants is for this to be what it is, which is a cordial time where they have to interact with each other here and there. Cody says that there are still some hurt feelings that remain from Mary's catfishing experience, as well as what was happening before. As I said before, if you're not going to tell us what happened, we don't care. He says that catfishing was really just a wake-up call for me and Mary, like our problems ran much deeper than just that. And that, that's what probably led us to the catfish happening in the first place. A wake-up call means that an event happens and that you learn from it and then you adjust accordingly. But he never adjusted and he never forgave her. And that's okay that he didn't forgive her, but he just needs to say, I don't forgive you. Admit it so that she can stop holding on. He says, Mary, you were looking into get something back that we're not going to get, that we need something new. Cody tells us that he regrets what he and Mary had. He's looking to the future at what they will have, which he doesn't believe Mary is doing. Mary says she knows that they had something, before and that it's gone, but it's a difficult thing to mourn that while still working on a relationship with him. She says she doesn't know how to wrap her head around this, and neither do we. We don't know how to wrap our heads around it either because we think you should go. She says, I thought that we were moving forward, and he says that, that's where he's at, that he's at the place of moving forward, but his actions don't show that. They show otherwise, which is another reason why sometimes she's confused. She says that people often ask her why she just doesn't leave. I am people. People is me. People is she. But one thing that I've learned from reading the various books from the sister wives is that they are taught to endure. They are taught that suffering is going to lead to a greater reward in the celestial kingdom. She just honestly believes that because of what she's done, she deserves this. And it's sad because this is what they're taught. He says, every time I try to have an honest conversation here with Nancy, what happens is she gets sensitive, and then Mary goes into victim mode while I'm saying anything that's true. He says this right in front of her. Cody tells Mary that she has some healing of her own to do before she can fix their relationship. And then he accuses her of frequently playing the victim. He says, I cannot be her Jesus. I tried doing it for years. This is the crap about Cody that gets on my nerves, because the both of them play victim at times, because Cody has done some pretty crappy things to Mary, but he never admits it. And because she's so busy trying to stay in his good graces, she often does not say what he does, but he doesn't have a problem trying to throw her or anybody else under the bus. He says Mary always retreats to this victim status, but he doesn't allow her to get out of it because he verbally attacks her for it and then makes her feel emotionally stripped and like she's wrong for having a reaction to the negative things that he's constantly saying about her. Mary wants a relationship and Mary wants family, but he doesn't. And because he's such a dirtbag and because he's such a coward, he can't just come out and say it. The melting down of the ring that Mary never told us about was vicious and tells us all we need to know. know, because I would have been so quick to say that information, and for years she kept that as a secret. Let me calm down. I'm getting too okay. I'm not yelling at y'all. I hope you know that. I'm just passionate. Cody then tries to take some fault in the issues, but the way he does it makes him, of course, rise to the top like he's the good guy. He says that he has a desire to make things better, and he, as needing the desire to make things better, that he just needed to fill up a love tank. With who? Because it's not Mary. Mary says she does react and she is sensitive at times. Nancy says, are you willing to go deeper today? And Mary says, okay, the both of us. And Cody's like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, what I'm saying is, are we both going to be deeper? Not just Cody talking about me. Because Cody doesn't like when people tell him his truth. It's okay for him to poke at Mary, but she can't poke him back. He wants to be able to point fingers. We've seen him done it with Mary. Then another season, we see him do it with Christine. And then later on, once they're both gone, we see him do it with Janelle. It's clear that this is what he does. He does not take accountability for his acts, and he doesn't like criticism. After he says, like, look, I'm not up for any criticism, Nancy says, are you serious? She should have called him out on it, but she kind of did in a roundabout way. He says, something has triggered me and I'm angry. In this relationship, it's gotten to the point where I'm just done hearing about how I'm wrong. I'm not stepping into this to sit there and be ridiculed again. But he's never truly been ridiculed. He's never owned up to his faults. Instead, what he does is he dumps on Mary. Cody then says that he feels like he was deceived into a relationship that was very different than what he expected, that he and Mary had a fast courtship with a lot of expectations and not a lot of communication. And I didn't know who I was marrying. And as things unfolded, I started to become very troubled, even bitter by the situation I was in, he continues. He is legitimately annoyed by Mary's feelings. No one forced him into this situation. And in his book, he said something completely different. He chose to marry Mary. No one held him to the fire. No one made him be a polygamist. I personally think, became a polygamist because he thought that it would get him closer with his father. This statement makes me feel like he realized very early on that he didn't want Mary, and yet he still married her. He lets us know that he's kind of done, that he was kind of done, that he got to the point where he felt like he was set free. I'm going to assume that's the catfish, but he's not telling us when he felt like he was set free. He says, but he can't walk away because he made a commitment. And why, he made that commitment, he's staying with it because not religion, but because of the commitment, because he feels like this is something fixable. Mary, he's sitting here saying that it's not because of religion, but it's because of the commitment. He said, Nancy made it clear that she thinks it's fixable, so I think it's fixable too. What the bleep? Bleep, 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 bleep. Put a whole bunch of bleeps there. Bleep, 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 bleep. What is wrong with Nancy? What is wrong with Nancy? Seriously, Nancy, why are you telling them this is fixable when after all this time, after all these years since they moved to Vegas, you haven't done anything to fix Cody and Mary's situation? It's not fixable because both parties have to want it, and Cody doesn't. He then accuses Mary of mistreating people. Mary's like, I don't even know what he's talking about. He says, I'm reacting to a behavior that I'm seeing be bestowed upon other people. Mary says, I don't understand what he means by that. She's like, I want to know how I can improve myself because I'm trying to do things to improve myself and he just isn't seeing it. Dr. Nancy then seems to agree, suggesting that Mary sometimes can be defensive. Being defensive and mistreating people are two different things, and her doing that in front of Cody didn't do anything but make him feel like he was right in the situation. She tells Cody that he has some things with him too. She then says, I need a break. This is serious when the doctor says that they need a break. After a break, she comes back to resume. They start to do an exercise about what matters in a relationship. How do you allow him to unload like that? And rather than addressing it when you come back, you change the subject and start this exercise. I personally feel like she should have stuck with that a little bit more before she did the exercise, but what do I know? Mary says she values kindness and being genuine and having interaction. Cody says he values kindness, trust, compassion, and integrity, even though he doesn't have a lot of those things himself. They are asked to write the attitudes, thoughts, and feelings that prevent them from achieving these things. Mary says fear, I don't trust, I build walls, I'm not vulnerable, loss of pride, etc. She tells us if she doesn't feel safe in an environment, for her, she gets panicked and anxiety. Cody says for him, it's anger and fear. They then have to talk about the behaviors and the ideals that contribute to the different feelings and emotions. Cody says he struggles with finding positive words. Mary says be present, kind, open, and vulnerable. Dr. Nancy then takes that time to say that the words that you just listed are kind of what Cody is talking about when he's saying that you are being a victim. And she's like, I'm not being a victim. He's saying that I'm being a victim. Cody says, add to his list that he walks away because it's a big screw you and it allows him to get the final say. He said, listening to this and seeing what Dr. Nancy's doing here, I'm getting the tools and I'm being encouraged because before I was discouraged about where I've been, but this discussion right here is allowing me to be optimistic about things. And I feel like it's going to be a hard step, but I feel like there's hope here. Cody is lying. Mary says her struggle is that she needs for both of them to do it. She can't be the only person. And a lot of times she feels like he doesn't see the work she's doing and she doesn't see the work he's doing. And it's because he's not doing any work. Dr. Nancy points out that both Mary and Cody are controlling. She says, Cody, you do your controlling with charm, humor. I've never seen you not get your way. In a very significant situation like moving, you were even able to get your way, which I wish she would have stuck on that a little bit because it's true. The family moved even though most of them did not want to, and he's still not satisfied. Mary's trying to control, according to Dr. Nancy, in a protective sense. Their assignment is to work on control together, whether it be over dinner or something like that. I don't understand what kind of assignment that is, especially when they're not around each other. That ride to and from was probably the most time that they've spent together in 6 months. They say that they're willing to see what they can do. Mary starts crying, saying that she's glad that he was willing to see Dr. Nancy. This is a step for her because she can't have these conversations without her. She's been trying to do things over the years and she just feels like it's gotten worse, and it's because he's done. That's the end. Final thoughts. Cody in this episode is showing examples of why Mary has her walls up. Mary gets on my nerves sometimes and her actions make me go back and forth about how I feel about her. But what was done during this episode, in my opinion, was completely unnecessary. He speaks in a way that is designed to cut her. His desire is to hurt her. I don't care how you feel about Mary and the things that she may have done. No person should have to hear their significant other berate them like that, talk about them like that. This is the person that he married, the person that he took vows with, the person that he decided to spend the rest of his life with. And the way that he speaks about Mary, you would think that she did more than what we know of her to do. What makes it even worse to me is that the rest of the wives have been privy to this for years. They've witnessed how he's talked to the other wives. They've seen how he's treated marry, and it was okay with them as long as it was happening to someone else and not them. But you all, tell me your thoughts down below. I may be a little delayed in my response because, as I said, or I didn't say it, tomorrow is my birthday. Today, you see me here? You see me here? This is my last time being in my 30s. Because on August the 3rd, I will be 40 years old. I know. But you know what, y'all? I'm grateful because the way that life has been set up recently, I've lost a lot of people. And I just got to be grateful for another day. And I hope you all are as well. Thank you so much for your time. Like the video, it helps the channel. And until next time.